Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the podcast, Beautiful You. I'm your host, Avantika. Today, we have two really special guests with us. We have Aaryaman Jatav and Anushka Prabhu. Hi, guys. They are both my classmates.
Hi.
Hello.
We are studying BSc Psychology in Mumbai, India at the moment. Aaryaman is a very curious person and he never limits himself, which has led him to make some quite interesting discoveries, especially about himself. He's opinionated and calm and always up for new adventures. Anushka Prabhu, being a student of BSc Psychology, her main interests lies in artistic fields like dance, music, painting, sketching, as well as she has pleasure in writing short pieces and poetry. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome to the podcast, guys. You guys know I advocate for therapy all the time. Beautiful You encourages you to seek the right professional help and care for you. This is where AMAHA comes in. AMAHA is a mental health care organization offering scientifically driven and evidence-based high-quality care through therapy, psychiatry, their community support, and self-care app. Whether you're dealing with anxiety, depression, or any other severe condition, AMAHA has about 140 plus psychologists and psychiatrists working to support you. You can access therapy and psychiatry services online as well as in person through their centers in Bangalore, Delhi, and Mumbai. Beautiful You listeners get a special discount. Use the code BY50 to get 50% off your first session with AMAHA. Just download their app. It's called AMAHA, AMAHA, or visit their website to book your first session with AMAHA. And if you know someone who is struggling with mental health, share the love and the discount. Let's make mental health care accessible for everyone together. Invest in your mental health. You deserve it. To begin with, so Aaryaman identifies as asexual while Anushka doesn't. In this episode, we are dwelling into their relationship and try to understand how asexuality is a spectrum and how it plays out in this heterosexual relationship in a world where heteronormative is usually encouraged. So, to begin with, can you tell us a little bit about how did you guys meet?
So we met in college only, and we
No, we
originally
met
started
before
talking
college.
on WhatsApp and stuff. Yeah, but barely. So
We
college
met
start
through
हुआ था.
college. That's the difference.
Yeah, that's the key word. So we met through college, but because online college was more dominant pehle, first we met on like WhatsApp groups, then we met on Zoom calls, then we finally met on like our batch-wide union thing, and that's where we first met each other, and we became very good friends. Like we had a small friend group and everything, and after that things just we hung out more, things started evolving more and more, and then before we knew it, we started dating, and then college started, and then we just got
It
closer and
wasn't
closer,
that
and
simple.
well, it was pretty.
Yeah, in
It's
your head,
basically
it
this.
just happened like that. But let me just add one minor detail. I was the first person to tell him that I like him. Okay. So we met for the first time in the end of September. In mid-October, I told him that I like him, but I mean, we didn't know each other that well, so like, really wasn't expecting anything. And then this man has the audacity to show up 1.5 months later and ask me after not talking about it even once in between. So
I needed to think.
yeah, you needed to think. You didn't tell me you were thinking so much.
I thought about
Okay.
it well and good, you know.
How long have you been together now?
It's been a little
More
more
than
than
2
2 years.
years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's such a long time. That's so exciting, though.
Yeah,
So,
I know.
to the listeners who may not be familiar with asexuality, could you tell us a little bit about what being an asexual means to you and what asexuality is?
Yeah, so I'm completely normal, okay? With one difference, like I don't really, compared to other people, I'm not really looking for sexual relationship, not looking for sexual satisfaction. In my life, that does not hold any place of priority, or like, I don't get any joy from sexual practices. And that was very strange to me at the start because I didn't know this was possible. I just thought that I'm just a very isolated person, so I don't know about all this stuff. But now I've realized that some people are out there, and of course, it's a huge spectrum, and there are different types of asexuality or asexuality. I don't know how to pronounce it anymore. But mine
Asexuality.
is like, yeah, mine is like in a relationship, sex is not something that I look for or even prioritize. No, prioritize or even look for as something that has to be there or it has to be a particular way. It just doesn't matter. That's the only difference.
Right. When did you first realize that you were asexual?
Okay, so this is back in seventh standard, where everybody had that phase in seventh standard where everybody was rebelling a little more, being more, loudmouth, saying like, things that kids are not supposed to say. And there was a lot of double meaning jokes going on. And I used to participate a lot in that. But I never found them funny. And all my friend group people were like, oh, sex, oh, ha, ha, ha. And I just didn't get the hype. And I was like, okay, I didn't care. I didn't think about it. And then ninth grade, 10th grade, and my friends are dying to get into relationships and stuff. And I'm like, I don't feel the same way. So what's going on? And Pele, I just thought like, okay, maybe I'm not really, a people person. Maybe I'm just very introverted. And I just never really got into a relationship at all. So I was never interested in a relationship. So I never got to experience or explore bisexuality. And then I watched this show, BoJack Horseman. Very good show, one of my favorites. And in that, there is a character, Todd, and he was depicted as an asexual, like fully, like he has a plot line, he has a whole story where he goes through, finds out he's asexual, and that's when I realized, oh, aisa bhi kuch hota hai. Like asexuality is a thing, and that was what I realized. I looked at him and I saw this is exactly what I felt, like same thing I thought, and that's how I finally figured out like there's a thing for this feeling.
Right.
And uske baad se I've just accepted it. Ki, yeah, this is who I am. That's it.
How did you first feel? Like, what was your initial reaction when you knew that you were asexual?
I was uh, I was not surprised because I expected this from myself, knowing how uninterested I was in things, and I also thought it was pretty cool because I was different from other people. I was like, hell yeah, I'm unique. That was pretty cool. That's it. That was my reaction. I didn't really, yeah,
It's a very your reaction.
yeah.
Love that. Love that so much. So it's interesting how you like mentioned while you were asexual because you didn't know that the term existed or this thing existed, you thought you were an introvert. So
Hmm.
how do you draw the fine line between being an introvert and just being different and isolated from different people versus being asexual?
It's very different. So now I've become a lot more extroverted, but I'm still very asexual. So being an introvert was completely different, where I did not really look for the connection. While being an asexual, I want to know many people. I want to be friends with people. I want to have romantic relationship. I want to bond with people, but
Mm-hmm.
still I don't want to have sex. So I'm sort of like an extrovert now, where I like to talk to people. I have a lot of friends. I have a lot of friend groups,
Mm-hmm.
and of course I also have a girlfriend now. But I'm still asexual. So
Right.
it's completely different, and it's very liberating to be both,
That's
not
that's
limiting.
That's lovely, genuinely. So, how did you bring up the topic of asexuality when you first started dating, Anushka?
Do you want to say, Anushka? Do you remember?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't so like I told you, like we when we met first, it wasn't like we immediately started dating. It took like about 2 to 3 months before we like got to know each other and we started dating. So like in that meantime, we had like formed these really like close friend groups and stuff. So like it was just kind of like a thing that everyone knew about him. Like he would have mentioned it to once to someone, and like everyone just knew about it after that. So like it it was something I knew about before I got into a relationship with him. So I guess I took it fine. I mean, I wasn't sure how it would work out
Mm-hmm.
after we got into a relationship. Like I remember that one of the very first things I asked him after he asked me out after a while is that okay, so like you said you identify as asexual, so like how is that going to work out for you? So like what are you comfortable with, what are you not comfortable with? So I
Right.
remember that's one of the first few conversations I had with him, and even then he wasn't very sure about what he's comfortable with and what he isn't comfortable with. So yeah, I mean, I took that fine. I mean, it the thing is, yeah, it just really didn't matter to me like as much, I guess.
Did it get any like getting used to it? Like there would be some things that he's not comfortable with, but you would be
So,
looking forward to it.
so no, so it works differently in our relationship, right? He's comfortable with all the things that I'm comfortable with for the reason that I'm comfortable with them,
Mhm.
not because he's actively looking for them. So like in our relationship, we do engage sexually, we do kiss and stuff. So like it's that is not something he's not comfortable with, but he does it because I don't know, it makes me happy in a way, if that makes sense.
That
It's
does.
not that he's actually looking for it, but engaging in it would make him feel good because it makes our relationship stronger.
Yeah.
In a way, if that makes sense.
It does. It does. It absolutely does. So, were there any like times where it was a little difficult to navigate through certain conversations regarding it?
No. The only time that it was a little confusing is, like I said, towards the beginning of our relationship. So he was still figuring out his shit, right? I mean, we both are each other's first relationship, right?
Okay.
So he wasn't exactly sure of where he's going with this.
Mhm.
So I don't know. He must have had a lot of things going on in his head, like a lot of doubts and stuff, like as to like, oh, okay, what do I feel like? And then somewhere in the 2 to 3 weeks after we started dating, we ended up meeting this one time, and we were sitting in this place, and I don't know, we were talking and all a lot, and then we ended up having like a little bit of a moment, is what I'd like to call it. And then I was about to kiss him, and then he was like, I don't want to do that right now. And that was like the first time I ever tried to kiss him. So he was like, I was like, okay, fine. I completely get that. That makes a lot of sense. That you still wouldn't be comfortable with it, or like you still haven't figured it out if you are. And he's like, oh yeah. I mean, no, it's not that. I mean, I would want to, but like I'm also just really nervous. And I was like, cool. And then a little while after we were into the relationship, that conversation about the day came up. It was like, I didn't want to kiss you because my mouth was dry. So yeah, we're
Yeah.
funny like that. Yeah, so that's one of the only times I was actually a little confused about, okay, is he fully going through it?
Yeah.
But no, I mean, apparently he wasn't.
I love.
But
I
he
love
would be able to tell you better.
I love how it's like so healthy and open between you two, and I'm glad that asexuality is not a matter of inconvenience here. And a lot of people like refuse to see that, right? Because sometimes for asexuals, it just people think that, oh, you are not interested at all in sex, and that's you will never have sex, and that's like this is just not something that you're into, or so you're averse to it. Maybe you get weirded out about it, but that's not always the case. Sometimes they might enjoy it, but not to the degree that other people do, right? So what in your case, Aryaman, what makes a romantic relationship different than a friendship when it comes to because like you're not interested in sexual activities like as much, it's not something that you're affected by, so what makes a relationship different than a friendship?
That is the main thing. Like there are two different types. There are two different when it comes to aromanticism and asexuality. Like aromantics are a different thing and asexuals are a different thing.
Mm-hmm.
I am asexual, but I'm a big romantic and I'm a very emotional person. So a relationship all about is for me, a relationship is all about like emotional connection and bonding, venting together, hanging out together, having moments together. That is what gets me, interested. That is what gets me, invested basically. And so a friendship has moments and all, but a romantic relationship has like a different level of moments. And the emotional connection in that is often much more than like a friendship, like even best friendship. So that really sets it apart for me. And another thing, well, I don't know if this really fits here, but because I'm asexual, I'm also like pan romantic, which means if I if I like someone, I don't really care what their gender is because like their sex is not a part of the relationship for me anyway. So it doesn't matter what like what is there in their pants. I just want to know if I can emotionally connect to the person and if I can have a good relationship with them. So that way I'm only looking for like that vibe, that connection that can connect. And
Makes
that
sense.
I have that happened.
No, yeah, that makes sense. That's a really good distinction between what makes something a romantic relationship for you versus something that's a friendship. So when in a relationship where one is asexual and one is not, communication becomes very vital, right? And as you've mentioned that you guys are comfortable with pretty much everything, but I wanted to ask, do you guys use any key safe words, or like how does the conversation go on about it? Do you just bring up abruptly, or is there a process of bringing these conversations up?
So at least between us, it's like we know each other well enough to know what we are comfortable with and what we aren't.
Mhm.
As far as the conversations part go, I think like see, since now it's been like more than 2 years that we've been together. I think we just know each other that well to know what is okay, what is not okay, and like I think pretty much everything is fine like that way. But initially in the relationship, of course, I had to obviously prod him a little more to like ask him, like, okay, are you like okay with this? Are you not okay with this? Are you like what do you think about this? Blah blah blah. So I think I'm pretty sure I was the one to ask him like most of the questions regarding what he's okay with and what he isn't okay with. But I think that kind of helped him like figure out his things and like, be able to tell
My
me better
boundaries and
what
stuff.
he would be okay with. Yeah, his boundaries better, which
Yeah.
are quite eh, being the chill guy is like, I'm okay with this.
What are certain boundaries
Yeah,
that you
that's
had
true.
set?
Also,
Yeah,
no, I mean, I'm sorry. I just wanted to mention one more thing that might be very relevant to this conversation. That, um, again, his asexuality in this context, for him specifically, also means that it's not necessary that he's not uh, physically attracted to me in a sense. Like, he does find me physically attractive, but that does not mean that it will translate into him having the urge to have sex with me. That's
Yeah.
another important thing. So like for those people who are confused that they might be physically attracted to someone or something but still don't want to engage in the act, I think they should know that they're not the same thing. So like it's a spectrum again, and like you can have different feelings towards different things. So yeah, that's one more thing I want to
Yeah.
mention.
That's a good thing to bring up, because many of my friends also thought that because I'm asexual, I don't find people hot or I don't find people attractive. And it's just like, oh, sort of emotional connection and all that. But that's not the case. People are attractive like because of their face and because of their body and their shape and if they're muscular or not, whatever. It doesn't have to have any sexual connotation at all to find someone attractive.
Mhm.
So as a, there's nothing like that. That's just-
That's interesting. I didn't think about that in that context, so that definitely helps give some perspective. So, did you face any, like when you first told people that you're asexual, when you would bring it up, did you face any judgment or any, I don't know, any like misconceptions or any myths that you came across?
Yeah. So I still haven't really opened up to my family about it because first of all, I don't think it's necessary. And secondly, how would I even explain? Because I think their concern would be like, oh, will you have kids? And I'm like, I'm not even thinking about that. It doesn't even not even on my priority list. And secondly, when I told my friends, they were first of all, they were very confused and they thought, it's just like because I haven't been in a relationship, I was just trying to hide my like quote unquote vulnerability of being in a relationship by just saying, "Oh, I'm not interested. I just don't want all this." They didn't think it was the real thing, and it was kind of hard because there was nothing that I could do to explain it to them. Like, "Oh no, this is a real thing," or "Oh, as examples or something to give." So I was just like, "Don't believe me. What do I do?" But it sort of bothered me that people don't believe me, and then I was like, am I really asexual, or is it just something that I'm doing to cope with the feelings of never had a romantic relationship, never had sexual like experience or anything. So
Mhm.
that put me in like a very unsure footing for a while, whereas it took me longer to figure out if I really am asexual or not because of like people doubting me.
Right.
But now I'm like, now that I'm older, now that I'm smarter, and now that I have more exposure to the world, I'm pretty sure that I was in the right.
Right, makes sense. So, how would you tackle with that? Like, I know it took you some time and it would make you think about it. So, as someone who is asexual, and what's your advice would be for someone who's figuring out their asexuality?
Okay, so big thing is don't try to look at other people and gauge where you lie on the spectrum. It's a huge thing. You could be anything. There are asexuals who are disgusted by sex. There are asexuals like me who don't mind it at all. And there are so many other types of, like, other sexualities and other interests and whatnot. So it
Mhm.
doesn't really, you can, every asexual can have their own, settings, and it's just like that sometimes. I don't know how it works, but it just is like that. So it doesn't matter. If you feel like you are asexual, you can say that. And then later on be like, oh, I read about it more and turns out I wasn't. There's no shame in that. But you don't have to engage in sexual acts just because of societal pressure or peer pressure or because of someone else, like a relationship or whatever. If you're not interested, take your time. Like I took my time, and I'm really glad like Anushka gave me that time to think about, like, relationship and everything. And I think that was really important in me being myself in the relationship.
Mhm.
Otherwise I would just be stuck as the idea of what a boyfriend should be instead of how I should be as a boyfriend. And that distinction was very important to being more free and being more myself in my own skin, which is a very, very important thing, asexual or not. So yeah, just do your own thing, man. Do your research. Don't do your research, whatever. Sit with yourself, whatever it works for you. But just don't rush it. Take your time.
Love that.
That's my
As a partner of someone who's asexual, I wanted to ask, what's your advice for someone who is in a relationship or is might be thinking of getting into a relationship with someone on the spectrum? So, what's your advice? How to be supportive of the relationship? And yeah.
I think uh, one thing is you really have to weigh the so before you get into a relationship with someone who's asexual, you have to really weigh the importance of what does having sex mean to you and how important is it for you in the relationship. Because I can say for sure that it is different for different people. A lot of people give a lot more importance to the physical in the relationship as compared to the emotional and intellectual. And I have seen that in like my own very close friends and everything. So it's really important that you know where you stand on that meter. And the other thing is that I think you should do when you are in a relationship with an asexual person, you should do what you would normally do with literally any other person. Respect their boundaries and treat them like a normal person with choice. You
Mm.
just let them, you just let them like explain their boundaries to you, like whatever, no matter what they are. The only thing that's different with being in a relationship with an asexual person would be how comfortable they are with certain things, which actually goes for literally everyone. Some people like for example, I'm not very comfortable with people constantly touching my face. Those are my boundaries.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like it's different things, different levels, but like the main thing is that you treat even an asexual person like a regular person and you just respect their boundaries as you should do for everyone. So you ask, you comply, and you discuss. That's the only thing to do. There is nothing different you should do with this person. And you should make them feel as normal as possible about it and not make a big deal out of it. Because if that's what you want to do, then you probably shouldn't date them. So be a good person, guys.
Be a good person. Yes. So, it's I genuinely applaud. Like I see your relationship. You're so cute together. Oh my god. So it's like it's um it's wonderful to see how the dynamics are functioning well enough. But I can see that there are other couples out there who one person might be asexual, maybe both might be asexual, and they might be struggling with finding the right balance in communication, right? Or forming the right boundaries. They don't know how to bring it up because it is a matter of inconvenience sometimes because you have to be a little vulnerable with your partner. What's your advice to someone who wants to have this conversation but is too afraid to at the moment?
So, do you want to answer? Okay,
uh
go
I
first.
think so I'll talk from the perspective of like the person who wants to set the boundaries. And I'm going to sound very cliche, but if you want to get into a relationship, you have to be 100% honest and you have to have good communication. And those are the only two things you need. If I'm getting like, if I have to talk to Anushka about it, and I have to be genuine, I have to be honest, and I have to explain because she's a person and she's, smart enough to realize that, oh, he won't lie to me because there's nothing to gain. So I have to trust that, and I have to just tell her, see, this is the thing. I have these boundaries, and if you cross these boundaries now, then it'll make me feel real uncomfortable in the relationship right now. So let's just keep it aside for a while. And then, as and when the relationship progresses, people do get closer, like good relationships may. And once they get closer, it becomes easier to communicate and even easier to comply. And that way, you just have to take the first step awkwardly, just however, just be polite and be honest, be straightforward. And after that, things will, if it's a good relationship and if your partner is understanding, things will just go smoothly because even your partner wants to make sure that you are happy, you are satisfied, and you are comfortable in the relationship. So it's usually just in your head the way you feel awkward. But yeah, it goes away after a while, like after a small.
What I think is that I think what's most important is that, like I said, you should just be willing to like respect the other person's choice, and like you should be willing to just have a conversation about it. Like just starting with a, hey, listen, so there's something I need to talk to you about. That is more than enough to set the tone for the conversation, and like more than enough to get the other person's attention and just put them there and say, okay, my partner needs something from me. I need to listen to this. I need to give them the space to talk about this. So that should be more than enough to set the tone for your conversation. I mean, it is the most important thing for anyone in any relationship is the fact that you should be able to communicate. And if you are struggling in a way to get to do that with each other, maybe what you really need to work on is emotional bonding. Like like if you're talking about a relationship where two people or one person is asexual, then what you really do need to work on is aligning your interests, aligning your thoughts, aligning your perspectives, aligning your hobbies, doing things together. That would help you, I mean, really, come together and, be comfortable enough with each other in that physical space to be able to have a conversation, and also understand that the other person cares about your well-being and understand that the other person is here for you. So those acts of togetherness is what will help you, I think, create that space better, like it would for any normal relationship, to be quite honest.
Of
See,
course.
the only thing different about being in an asexual relationship is that one of your partners or both the partners might have different perspectives on the physical act of having sex. That's the only thing that is different. So I feel like people should not really make such a big hue and cry of it. Of course, I'm not talking about the awareness aspect of it, or demanding that people are respected of this sexuality and stuff like that. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about while you're in the relationship or while you're looking to be in a relationship with someone, no matter what their perspective is on the physical act of sex, you have to treat them the same. You have to give them the same respect, same boundaries, same open, honest communication, same closeness, same everything else. That's what makes also being in an asexual relationship different from a friendship, right? Because
Yeah.
essentially everything is the same, but the fact that there are different views on the sex part of it. That's it. So I feel like people really think of it as a whole thing, like, oh, like how can I date someone who's asexual? Or like, who will date me if I'm asexual? Or, so those thoughts are really, limiting and really stigmatizing. And I feel like people should really just stop treating it like it's not a thing that's supposed to exist. So yeah.
That's a really good point that you make. I hope that this episode reaches out to the right person and helps them, destigmatize our sexuality and what it is and what it stands for and how it plays out in a relationship. Because no matter what, you can still have a really full-fledged, fulfilling relationship, even if you're asexual. So I love that. What are some of the fun, like non-sexual ways that you engage in that to show affection and connect with each other?
Hugs. Love
Hugs.
hugs.
Aw.
And yeah, it's physical intimacy, but it's still very, very nice, emotionally, physically. This just makes me feel good. And yeah, you don't even have to have any
Huggies
sexual
actually
contact or
release
nothing.
hormones.
Yeah,
Yeah.
see, it's biologically proven. Hugs are the best. But
Uh,
yeah, even like
also,
yeah, but even like hugging, kissing, all of those things, they're very nice. I still really like them. I still really want them. It has nothing to do with, being asexual. Yeah.
Also, no matter what you like engage in physically, I think what you do together is also a form of like affection and everything. So like, for example, he likes to give me a lot of small gifts, which I which I don't know what to do with because he gives me more than I can do anything with. But they're really cute, so I always keep them here and there. Like I look at them and I'm like, wow. And also, for example, like as of the latest, for our 2 year anniversary, we went for like a really nice lunch and like we went for a bowling date. So I think that really like, you know, explains the sum of what you could be doing with your partner in an asexual relationship. I mean, of course, for us, it works differently because like we are also comfortable with sex.
Yeah.
Except his views on it are different and mine are different. That's the only thing, right? But the fact is that we both, as individuals in the relationship, have a lesser importance on physical connection as compared to on the emotional and intellectual connection. Like, even though I'm a sexual person, I also place a relatively lesser importance on the physical aspects of a person in general, like even physical attraction. If you go there, then I am not particularly into looking at the physicalities of an individual or like the sex aspect of it and choosing a partner. That's not what I am about. I am also more about the emotional intimacy and the intellectual connection aspect of it, which is what I think works for us well in the relationship when it comes to me being comfortable with his sexuality and the circumstances of our relationship. So I think that is what people should focus on. Like, do you have what you want in the relationship? And you should be honest about it. Like, if you are a person who's dating someone who's asexual and you're not comfortable with the fact that you're going to be with someone in a relationship who's not comfortable with sex, it's okay to say that. Because some people genuinely like feel like they're going to get judged or they're going to get cancelled or something if they say that no, but I do want sex in a relationship and this is not for me. It is okay to say that as well. It's like saying कि मुझे sex नहीं चाहिए and you should be okay with that. It should be the same for people who say कि मुझे sex चाहिए and you should be okay with that. That's also, I think some people should not, shame people for like saying that they are sexual beings and they would like to engage in sex. I think that is also the other flip side of it. So yeah.
100% agreed with that. We just need to let people be honestly and do your own thing as long as you're not harming yourself for other people. Just exist and let others exist. You know. So we are
The
coming.
hippie life.
We're coming towards the end of the episode, but before we end the episode, what is your favorite thing about each other?
I'm cute.
I was going to say that, but I thought, no. I don't. I think the relationship that we have is very special when it comes to like the ups and downs and the emotional connection we have. And it has at the start it was like, oh, she's so cute, she's so attractive, she's so funny. But now it's like, oh, the relationship I share with her is so special. Like it's you cannot duplicate this with anybody else, and that has now become my favorite thing. Like it's the most unique thing, it's the most special thing. So cute to have, but the relationship that we share, the bond that we share, the amount of emotional closeness that I feel to her, that is my most favorite thing.
So cute.
For me, I think it's just the fact that he's one of the first. I'm sorry, I'm not sexist, I'm not a misandrist, but I'm just gonna come out and say this. He's one of the first males I have seen who genuinely has a respected level of emotional maturity in my circle and experience with other males. Yeah, definitely. I think that's what I find most pleasing about him is that he genuinely literally focuses on the emotional connection aspect of it. He's very thoughtful, he's very emotional himself, like to the extent that sometimes he's oversensitive and I hate it. But yeah, no, he's genuinely really there for you as an emotional being. He understands and he's like, yeah. So he's that kind of person, and
Aw.
even his other friends, really like from what I've seen, really like to turn to him to have conversations, his guy friends and stuff, which is not commonly, I think, what you'd see with dudes being dudes. So I think that's also another thing. Like his friends also, whether guys or girls, really like to talk to him about their things, and that's what I really find like very respectable in him and very lovely in him. So that's a really cute thing.
That's love that. Is there anything that I might not have asked out on, or you might want to elaborate on?
I don't know.
No, it was
Um,
pretty good.
Yeah, I think.
Okay, that's lovely. I hope this reaches out to the right audience. Thank you so much for being here. I genuinely appreciate your time and effort and energy to be on this episode. For anyone who has made it to the end, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for listening. And we'll see you guys in the next episode. If you're listening to this on Spotify and if you like the episode, do give it a 5-star review. And if you're watching this on YouTube, we're on YouTube as well now. Do subscribe, like, comment, you know the drill. And if you are someone who is asexual or someone who knows who's asexual, do share this episode with them. It might help them get some perspective on how it's a spectrum and how it dwells and how it looks differently in different relationships. So yes, thank you so much for being here. I love you. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.
Thank you, Avantika.
Thank you.
Thank you.